Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Decaf. I am your host today, Mark Cunningham. I think it's my first time ever hosting. Taylor is out on business. I think my name still says Taylor. Yep, you can see on the bottom it says Taylor, so we could record for 40 minutes if need be. But we have a very special guest today, our newest hire, our newest employee, a great guy. His name is Jordan Long, and he is the Director of Government Relations at Beacon. Great personality, so we invited him to be on here. So welcome to the show, Jordan.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. I'm glad to be here a couple weeks in, 2 months into working for Beacon and already on the show. So
you feel some pressure. This is a pretty big deal. So if you don't perform, you will not come back on.
yeah, I think Justin was upset that we just keep kicking the can down the road on bringing him back. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, he just won a national award. He doesn't need any more attention for right now.
That's right. I agree with that.
So let's talk. We'll start with what's going on in Tennessee. And the recent news was something that has long been expected, but the state of Tennessee gave a $65 million grant to the multinational, huge organization Oracle to come to Nashville. We had talked about this earlier because we actually had said, the city of Nashville actually did a pretty good job. They didn't, give the whole farm away to Oracle. And for all the bad things Mayor Cooper has done, he's been pretty good on the corporate welfare thing. Unfortunately, the state gave them $65 million to come here. And of course, we were against that. So, what are your kind of initial takeaways from this? That's a lot of money to go to a private company.
Yeah, the state funding board, another corporate handout to like you said, a multinational company who has got plenty of money. And they, just like plenty of other places, are choosing to come to Tennessee because we're such a business-friendly climate. And I think a lot of them have gotten used to, wanting these corporate handouts and then getting them. So why not try for it? I'd like to see the state funding board stop giving corporate welfare out to multinational companies who have billions of dollars in revenue, who just as easily could have put up $65 million of their own.
To your point, it's actually interesting that I was talking to Ron earlier today, but I'm doing a panel tonight on corporate welfare and the IKEA example. But there's a magazine called Area Development Magazine. I guess it's big for people who do that kind of stuff. I don't read it, but apparently it's a big deal. And they talk to CEOs every year and they talk about the things that are the most important to them. And state and local incentives or corporate tax incentives are number 8 on the list. So when you look at the reasons businesses come to places, it's not because of that. Yeah, I'm sure that swings, 1, 2, 3% of businesses, but really they want a good tax code. They want a good, workforce development. And this is one of these problems where you get these huge companies and Tennessee's so afraid of not getting them that they feel like they have to give them that money. Where in fact, 95, 96% of the time, Oracle's going to come to Nashville even without any money because we have our government's done such a good job with having this great tax structure and this place that both businesses and people want to come that we don't need to do that.
That's exactly right. We can show for one example after another of companies who I would argue, just like you did, they're coming regardless. They're interested in having employees that can fill open jobs and like a business-friendly environment.
Which includes regulations too, not just taxes.
That's exactly right. And we can look at other examples of when Amazon wanted to expand in New York, how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, went ballistic and they pulled all those jobs from New York. It is much more than just big checks to these companies. It's definitely about the climate that they are investing in. They need jobs. They need, workers that have the skills and abilities to perform for them.
And like you said, we don't blame Oracle. We blame the government for giving them money. Of course, if you're a business, you're going to try to get that.
Absolutely.
But so moving on, this is kind of a fun topic, I think, that, we talked a little bit last week about how Joe Biden's approval ratings continue to kind of be in a free fall right now. They're somewhere between 43 and 45%, which is not usually good news for an incumbent for their political side during the midterms. But I want to go a little bit farther out and just kind of not who we prefer anything like this, but kind of put our prediction hats on here. And we'll start with you, Jordan. So in 2024, there's a lot going on there, and I think that neither party is really sure who their nominee is going to be. There's kind of a wide open thing where, I think there's a lot of Republicans who hope that Trump will be it, but we don't really know if he's running yet. And of course, he is still a pretty high percentage of people who don't care for him, even on the Republican side. So what is your prediction in 2024? Who do you think the Republican and Democrat nominee is? Again, doesn't matter who you like or what, just prediction wise, who do you think it will be?
Good question. I mean, I'm probably of the opinion that Donald Trump doesn't run again. I think there are younger members of the party who have gained significant popularity over the last couple of years, especially through the COVID-19 pandemic. Someone like Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott in Texas. I think someone probably like them is way more likely to be the nominee. I would expect there to be a bunch of nominees. I mean, a bunch of candidates for that. It wouldn't surprise me to see other people like Arizona Governor Ducey. Nikki Haley at one point was, someone that they had said would very likely be in the race. So I don't know if I can necessarily narrow it down to one. If I had to, I would probably lean more towards the Ron DeSantis. He's already been a number of things. That's probably next up on the shelf for him.
Which I think a lot of people would argue that kind of DeSantis is kind of Trump without the negatives. I mean, that's kind of what I hear a lot. It's like he has a lot of the good policy things that people like about Trump, and it's like as a fighter, but maybe isn't quite as insulting or getting on Twitter at 3 a.m. saying stuff. So what about the D side? I mean, there's a lot of course, Biden could run for re-election. I think a lot of people think that's unlikely. I mean, even predicted has him as like less than a 40% chance of being nominee. Kamala Harris is somebody who people talk about. Who do you think gets the D nominee?
I mean, I still lean towards, I think he would run again. So
you think Biden will be the nominee?
Nominee, I don't know so much, but I think he would definitely run again, as long as his health is in good shape, right? I mean, I think that the more progressive wave of candidates, it's just not panning out. It just is not working. If it was, we would have seen somebody else in 2020, Andrew Yang or someone more along those lines. I think it tends to be someone more towards the center, kind of like he probably is on paper. He claims.
Sometimes.
Right. As in primaries, you move left or you move right to pick up your party, but you eventually kind of come back towards the middle. I think that probably Vice President Harris is probably, in my opinion, probably the leading contender amongst that party as we turn out. I think more Democrat voters are young folks. I think that she probably, albeit haven't seen a lot of action from her in her term of vice president. I think that one, I wouldn't be surprised to see that pair again, but I also wouldn't be surprised if she was the nominee.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I do not think she'll be the nominee. I don't think Biden runs again. I actually, her approval ratings are just too, I mean, you're talking about 36, 37%. It's hard to win. Yep. And you can somebody like AOC who's probably going to run. She's eligible to run probably from the left, but my bet I'm going to take Mayor Pete is going to be the Democratic nominee. And I think I like it's between DeSantis and Tim Scott for me. I'm going to take the flyer and I say it's Tim Scott is going to be the nominee for the Republicans again. Not really based on whether we like these people or not, just kind of based on things. And you were right about as much as we hear from the far left, they don't actually get people elected, right? Bernie Sanders was supposed to be the guy and wasn't for a reason. And you keep seeing even in Democratic strongholds, you saw that the special election in Ohio when Nina Turner lost the primary. So we keep hearing about how the left are kind of the loudest, but they're not the people who actually go out and vote. And that's not what most Democrats want their party to be, in my opinion. So I agree with your general theory. So let's move on here to something that I think this is going to be kind of a fun section is we get to talk about the NFL. We haven't talked about this in 6 months. It is starting actually tonight is the first game of the season. Yep. So I'm going to ask you, we talked about college football last week. We'll keep talking about that, but I want to hear who is your champion. And I want at least one or two sleeper teams from you who you think could compete this year.
I am obligated to say Titans all the way. There's no question.
Oh, wow. So you're taking them to win it. I like that.
You know what? I'm going all in. I might as well get on the sports betting app and go for it right now. While they're way up. They've had a really good last handful of seasons. I think John Robinson, Mike Vrabel are both phenomenal for the Titans. Will they win it? I don't know, but I do expect them to go a long way.
Okay, well, I like the homer thing. Okay, so what's a good surprise team? Do you have a team that people should watch out for?
I'm looking for some of the other teams that have I'm just interested in teams that have historically not been so great. But I, as also a Raiders fan, I'm interested in watching them in a new stadium, new environment in Las Vegas. The Raiders have got this long history of drafting these picks or getting these transfers that are supposed to be like absolute standouts, stars, and they just completely fall apart. I mean, they just have not ever held water. So just as a fan of the Raiders, I'm watching them. I'm used to disappointment. That might continue.
I think you have more of that this year. It's hard to win with Derek Carr as your quarterback. That's the one thing I'll say. And
Question.
has these great game plans. Some games, and some games you're like, how did you lose to that team? I saw they were 2-6 at home last year. That's not a good record.
Exactly.
So hopefully they figure that out. I'm going to go a little bit off the radar. A lot of people are picking the Chiefs, and the Bucks, but I think the Rams are going to win it all. I think the addition of Matthew Stafford is going to be huge for them. I think Jared Goff is not a good football player, so I think that will be big for them. And I love the receiving core. I like Darrell Henderson. So, and for my surprise teams, like two teams who I normally hate, who I think are bad, I love the Jets this year. Again, when I say surprise, maybe 9 wins, maybe a playoff appearance, not like compete, but I love what they did in the draft. I think the Corey Davis from the Titans is a huge pick. I mean, he can be a real number one, and Zach Wilson throwing him. And then the Bengals too. I like the young kind of receiving core, Joe Burrow. So those are my two, could get 9 wins, not going to be a playoff team, but if you're going to bet, take them over the 6.5 wins that they're projected at.
For sure. I like the Rams. I'm with you. I think the Rams have made some significant improvements over the last couple of seasons as opposed to what they were, especially in St. Louis. So I'm, look, like I said, I like the teams that make major improvements that used to win 5 games.
Another example of why corporate welfare is bad is that St. Louis still owes money on that stadium without an actual football team playing there.
Yep. No question.
So the last topic is a kind of a weird one. I think it's fun. I'm seeing all these crazy internet rumors, probably not true. So please don't take any stock in this, but that running back DeAndre Swift is actually, like, the guy from the Lions has murdered somebody. I think it's probably somebody that has a similar name, or it's just somebody who made up a rumor just to be an idiot, but probably not true. But it made me think that there's been so many internet rumors in our lifetime, because we kind of grew up. I know I'm older than you, but we kind of grew up on the internet coming out. And Blue's Clues, that guy Steve just came back. And I remember when I was 9th grade or 8th grade, when he went off the air, people said that he had died, which was not true, that he had done all these horrible, broke the law. None of it was true. He just went to college, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
So it makes me, we'll start with this. What is the craziest kind of internet rumor that you think you've heard in your lifetime, as somebody growing up in that generation?
Oh my gosh.
A lot of celebrity death rumors. People just make up the celebrities. I think William Shatner's been dead 3 times, but
those are strange. Or the pictures that you see of Michael Jackson getting off of the ambulance, walking away after he's supposedly dead. That's crazy. One of the ones that I very vividly remember is, like I was talking about earlier, the Notre Dame player, Manzi Te'o's girlfriend. He was in a relationship with this girl from somewhere else, and it was just an internet rumor. It's stuff like this all the time,
and it turned out to be. So I actually don't even. I remember he had a fake girlfriend, but I don't know. Did he lie about it, or was he fooled? I don't remember which one. Or do we ever get to the bottom of that?
I was trying to figure out exactly earlier what the deal was with that, but
it was a crazy rumor. And then people were like, "Is it a real person?" And
right.
Nobody seems to know.
Hawaii and had only seen her a couple times. And at one point, she was alleged to have had a near fatal car accident.
That's right.
And it died.
What is more embarrassing, would you say? Would you say getting played for this fake person more embarrassing, or just lying to everybody about having a girlfriend? Which one do you think is worse?
I don't know. They're both pretty bad. I don't want to be found in the middle of either one of those, but I think what I think is worse is once you lie and then you get found out by other people. That is just absolutely embarrassing.
And at some point, of course, we don't condone lying. But a lot of people say something off the top, they're like, "Oh, that's not true." Just say, "Oh God, no, that wasn't true. I'm sorry. I did not mean that. That's not what happened." And if you get caught, I remember the guy from the league, Steve Rennes, he lied about being in New York in 9/11. And it sounded like it was innocent the first time, where he kind of said, "Oh, I was in," he acted like he was in the city, but then he kept going with it. Just say, "No, I'm sorry. I was wrong." I say things all the time that are, not true, not on purpose. But I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm sorry. That is not true." I was with the waitress. I told as with my girlfriend, I told a waitress I lived in Chicago. I'm like, I didn't live in Chicago. I lived in Milwaukee and visited Chicago. And I'm like, please let me correct this on the spot.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
right.
talk so fast that sometimes. So it's good to just correct it if you say something wrong.
Yeah, it is. And I actually saw something the other day, and I won't get the whole story right, but there was a person who claimed to be, like you said, in one of the higher floors of one of the World Trade Centers, and she eventually became the manager or the president of some type of victims related organization, and claimed that her assistant had been killed. And it was not true.
Yeah, lies get around. So I would say just be honest. And with the internet age, it's a lot easier to find out people's lies. So just be honest about things. That's the best advice we can give you. Even if it makes you look dumb, just be honest about it.
I completely agree.
So it's funny that you said that, because my crazy internet rumor, like the Michael Jackson thing's funny, because I feel like when you keep seeing pictures pop up of Tupac, it's like, oh, there's Tupac drinking a margarita in Mexico. It's like every couple of years you see pictures like, oh, Tupac's still alive, which I guess is just people that look like him that has these things, or like just somebody who's really good at the computer. But that's always fun when you have these kind of Tupac truthers who are like, oh, he's still alive. He never died.
Yeah, I've always been interested in the Elvis is still alive as an FBI agent.
That's right. There's a lot of good Elvis ones too. That's a great one.
Yep. There's been so many celebrity deaths that are, now conspiracies about them still being alive.
The Elvis one's even more interesting because you have so many people who just dress up like him that it's not hard to find somebody who looks like him, because people literally do that as a career, which I think is the weirdest thing ever. But I guess people like doing that.
There are some very dedicated fans.
Yeah, so I know my mom loves him. I don't think she goes to see his impersonators, but she has the same birthday. So shout out to Deanna. Well, that's it for this week. Jordan, what did you think about your first time on the show?
I hope that I can come back a second time.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well. I think that if we can kick Taylor off the show, most people would like it. So maybe you can replace her permanently. I think that there's been a lot of outcry from the people saying we don't want any more Taylor. So
well, if SPN is any measure, I think Taylor is probably a fan favorite.
Unfortunately, the most favorite person from our whole organization. Every time we go, everyone just loves her. So people have bad taste. I think we've come to expect that. So
there are all types of people in the world.
That's the Nickelback fan talking about other people having bad taste. So we're signing off. But thanks, Jordan, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.